friends. We have just done battle with 495, and we are out on Eastern Long Island. We have been in the van for 2 hours. We've done 89 miles after leaving the great and fine borough of Queens. Got Joe. And we are cruising along at...
Oh, no. We can't.
You want to redo that?
Yeah, we can't post that. I wasn't prepared.
So we're doing a wedding today. This is gig 1 of 2. We're cruising along out in Montauk. We're cruising along at about 5 Range Rovers per mile. We'll see how things go. So we're, what's the venue today?
The Bridgehampton Tennis and Surf Club.
Oh yes, we're at the Bridgehampton Tennis and Surf Club. We're actually doing the ceremony at this gig also, which is on the beach. So it is a violinist on the beach. So we have to set up a microphone for speeches, or for the actual ceremony, and a violin on the beach. So I will check back in with you guys as soon as we get to the venue. This is our vocal channel right here. And that's not pink noise you're hearing, that is the wind. So, what do you do with a 3-band compressor, or a 3-band, or a EQ and a single compressor? We pray.
No, put it back. I want it.
Well, day 2, Saturday. We're, what is this? Tropical storm
Tropical Storm Ophelia.
Tropical Storm Ophelia coming up on the RFK right here. So, yesterday's gig was interesting. We had the beach that basically sounded like pink noise the entire time, which now I kind of forgot that there was a tropical storm coming. That's why the waves were so rough and it was so windy yesterday. But look, there's Manhattan. You can't see anything.
Yeah,
Pretty.
That CX-3.
There's Joe's CX-3 up there. So, how was the gig for you last night, Joe?
I had a pretty good gig. Was playing saxophone, had a good ear mix. Yeah, good crowd. Very good crowd.
Oh, your ear mix was good, you say?
Well, I did the mix myself.
So, Joe's playing keys tonight. So, we left, what time did we pick up the van yesterday?
12:15, I think.
So, I like the Ford Transit vans because they have the little trip calculator below us. So, we've been in the van for 5 hours at this point, and we've driven 200 miles. So we drove out to Long Island. So now, where are we going today? Mamaroneck?
Mamaroneck. We need to get 2 lanes over.
And we need to get 2 lanes over. So I'm going to go because I've got to drive, and we're driving in a literal tropical storm, and we'll catch you at the gig. All right. So we are at the Winged Foot Country Club in Connecticut. So this is a pretty typical country club kind of gig. We've got a slate floor, an angled roof, which you can't see. We've got Tropical Storm Ophelia doing her thing outside. So where the band will be tonight is this area right back here. So we've got a stone wall right here And we've actually got some water coming down, so it's going to be a little tricky as to where to put the PA. So drums are going to go right there. So drummers, in case you guys don't bring a rug, you should. So this place actually looks like it has pretty solid power today. What do we got? Let's see. I don't know. That looks like a 208 volt thing. It's got double fins there. I actually don't know what that is. Pretty solid power today. So anyway, we'll get the PA system set up and check back in. So I know that you all are curious about the country club EQ. So this is where we're at today, and this is our main PA. These are our ringy frequencies. Let's go to our matrix here. This is what we're up to with the PA. I know, I'm pausing for the groans. And here's our sub, which of course we're pausing for the groans. Okay, channel EQs, we'll do them real quick. Kick, this is a 91. Snare 57. Overhead, this is an AT mic, I don't know what this is, 20 something. 604 for Tom 1, 604 for Tom 2. Bass is DI'd. Guitar is DI'd. We've got a Moog for a bass synth. Keys, we're doing this in mono tonight. I know. And tenor, trumpet tonight. We've got 3 vocalists. So I know that a lot of you may be wondering why we EQ so aggressively for our main PA, and here is one of the reasons why. So if you look where this microphone is in relation to the speaker, I try to get the speakers as high as I possibly can, just to avoid any type of feedback, but we are right in the cardioid pattern of the 58. So for vocal mics, we run a 58, another 58, and then we have an 86. So if we're looking at the 86, it is pretty close relation to the PA. So, not only do we have to deal with the tonal aspects of the sound system, getting it just to sound good in the room, we also have to deal with the the pickup patterns of the microphones. The other thing is, for instance, tonight we have a stone wall behind us. We are in a tent. It is currently raining, so that's a lot of high frequency, and our drums are right behind the singer. Usually we can get them back a little bit farther, but because the back wall is leaking, we had to move poor Gerald up a little bit more. So, the other thing is when we do speeches for a band like this, the speeches happen in the middle of the dance floor right here. So you're basically putting somebody who's not used to talking into a microphone that is using the proximity effect not to your liking, so which means, you have a ton of high end and no low frequency. And you're also right in front of the PA. So what we do for that is I try to keep the mic perpendicular to the PA. We use an 86 for that. So we're trying to use the pickup pattern in that mic to our advantage to kind of put it in the null side. But, if a dad or somebody like that is giving a speech, there's not much you can do if they take the mic off and they start to wander. So, again, if we worked in music clubs, a concert hall, theater kind of thing, we wouldn't have to go so aggressive on those kind of things. But, I think what a lot of you should consider before you comment is, we're using a sound system and a band, 2 things that are loud in a room that may not be acoustically ideal. And we're also dealing with, things like a speech in front of the PA system, which is, the worst thing in the history of the world. I made a joke last night that a microphone is a magnet and a speaker is a magnet. And much like human beings, sometimes when those 2 things come together, they squeal. Sorry, there's your dad joke of the day. That's also kind of gross. I apologize. So anyway, and this is kind of one of those things that if you're mixing a club band, these are things that you have to deal with. If you're mixing on a big stage, your singer is not going to be directly in front of the drum kit. There are things like that you don't necessarily have to deal with. So, if my methods seemed unorthodox a lot of the times, sometimes it's just because we have to come up with an unorthodox solution for an unorthodox problem. So anyway, I'll check back in with you at the gig. Joe, any pre-gig thoughts?
Go Browns.
Let's go Brown. Aw, poor Chubb. Man, we are in the middle of this hurricane. I hope they like this white noise machine that's going to be behind us all night. Well, what'd you guys think? Those are interesting ones. Friday was tough. That one hurt me. So here's what happened if you didn't quite catch it. So we got to the venue, and they didn't. We started early and ended up late. I feel like that's one of the great paradoxes of the world. So we got to that venue, those of you who are familiar with New York and Long Island specifically, basically there's one main road that goes from New York City to the very eastern tip of Long Island. That's 495. So where I used to live in Long Island City, that was kind of the beginning of 495, and you can basically get on one road and drive it all the way out to Montauk, which is at the tip. And it's a nightmare. Everybody in New York gets out and goes to the Hamptons or Montauk or out on Long Island for the weekend to get out of the city. And it's right around this time in the fall, it chills out. It's not as crazy as it is in the summertime. It's insane. There's one Starbucks halfway through, and that's where everybody stops and goes to the bathroom. It's insane. It's always really crazy. So that gig, we got out there really, really early. We started the day at 11. We got out there by 1 or so. Joe and I grabbed some lunch, and we went out to the gig, and then we just got late. So we had to, that venue had all the dishes and things like that, all of the silverware and all that kind of stuff was in these big white cabinets behind the band. And we couldn't set the stage up, because it's not a stage, it's just a band in a corner, until all of the dishes and stuff were taken out of the cabinets to set the table. So that put us behind, even though we got there early. The other thing was they had the ceremony on the beach, and they had to set these platforms down to create an aisle, and then they put the banquet chairs out there and stuff like that. So by the time we got out there, they ran us this 100-foot extension cord. I got a singular 58 with a windsock on it to try and negate the windstorm. So that was when the tropical storm was coming in. So the ocean was super rough. It was really windy, and it's our little ceremony PA system is a little Yamaha 4 or 6 channel MG console. There's no EQ, outboard EQ or anything like that. It is just meant to amplify usually a keyboard and one singular vocal mic for a ceremony. So what do you do with that? As a sound engineer, it's well, there's an 80 hertz high pass filter that we engage, and there's 100 hertz fixed band EQ, and there is I think the mid band is a 2.5K fixed band. So it's what do you do? It's just all right, lows gone, mids gone. It's you just need that big dip to just get rid of all of that low frequency rumble. But it's what do you do? There's still nothing there. So the violinist, thank God, had a pickup on his violin, and he's like, do you think we should use the pickup today? I'm like, yes, absolutely, we should do that. Jesus. So my plan was I was gonna mic him with a Sennheiser 604. I was gonna take just a little clip off and put it on a boom stand and just get it as close to the bridge of his instrument as I possibly could. And I just thought that would negate the most wind noise. And those mics already have a nice bit of EQ scoop in it. So obviously, you know, as the comment section will tell you, I'm a huge fan of scooped out mids. So, you know, I just figured that would help me the most. You know, a lower output microphone with a sort of built-in EQ curve. Because, you know, the tools that we have in our arsenal are a 58 with a windsock on it. But for whatever reason, there was only one, you know, pop filter in the ceremony kit. You know, usually we have a bunch of them in there. We have basically it's a Pelican 1650 with a couple, like 100-foot extension cord, a bunch of XLRs, you know, the little console. Like I made the case. It's an LM thing, so it has a foam insert that just has everything in a nice little compartment. So, you know, there's two 58s, two DIs, like there's just stuff to put, you know, a little ceremony thing together. Because usually the ceremony is like a violin or a keyboard or a guitar player or something like that. Like usually it's not a lot of people. Although next week, I think it's quite a few people. So maybe I'll make a video on that. But yeah, that's what we had. You know, microphone pointed into the wind with an ocean behind them. You know, it's like, what do you do with that? So that was that. So by the time we got that in, and it was on the beach, and I had to walk up and down the steps a million times because the violin player, since you needed a DI, he did not have a 1/4-inch cable with him. And for whatever reason, the 1/4-inch cable in the ceremony kit is a TRS, which, as we all know, you can't use interchangeably with a tip sleeve 1/4-inch cable. Or a 1/4-inch jack. So I had to go borrow one from the guitar player, and then his iPad died and he didn't have a cable, so I had to go up there, because I have like whatever the long USB to lightning cable is, so I had that up there, and it was just, you know, just generally being the tech in front of house person all in one. So, you know, that had that. So once we got that in and then cleaned up, and then they changed the room over from cocktail hour to ceremony, I basically had no sound check. That room was a very typical beach club, country club kind of thing. Low ceilings with big exposed beams. So it made these like pockets that were in there. So I never really had a chance to properly ring the PA out. And then we started, which is what we call our vibe set, which is basically just instrumental background music. The secondary problem, which I really want to do a shop talk episode about, I think that might be my next one, is the drummer played way too loud, which bled into all of the vocal microphones. And the way that he had his drum kit tuned was jazz. And what I mean by that was he had a wide open kick drum with no muffling in it, and it was pitched very high. His toms were pitched very high. And I just couldn't really get him to play softer, and it just kind of gets to a losing battle where it's like, well, it's a horrible acoustic sounding room. The PA is, you know, the ceiling was very low, so I had to keep the PA speakers very low, as if you noticed in the video. So they're right on plane with the singers. People are giving speeches directly in front of the PA. So, like, looking back at the videos today, when I was on my plane ride home, like right now I'm on my way to the grocery store. It's Sunday afternoon, so I got home and I realized we don't have any food, so I figured I would shoot the shop recap, or the weekend recap video. So that gig sounded like ass. Like, it, you know, it was fine in the room, but looking at the game film videos, it's just like, ugh. So, you know, it's like, what do you do? It's like, you know, you need gain. You know, you need gain before feedback. And, you know, you got a loud drummer that's got cymbals and a bunch of high frequency coming in. You have people that are talking in front of the PA. It's just, what are you going to do? So the next, you know, you make it work. And that's, here, listen, I hate to get like, you know, I hate to get crabby with you guys, but it's like, when you do high dollar weddings and things like that, you are at the mercy of a party planner, okay? This is not a dedicated music venue. You put the PA where the party planner tells you to put the PA, and you got to deal with it. Like, it has nothing to do with you. Like, you just have to make it work. So, like, some of you commented on the previous video, they're like, man, it would sound way better if you put the subs in the middle. I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. Sure, of course it would. You can't do that. You know, it's like, no party planner is gonna let you do that. No photographer, no band image person is gonna let you do that. You can't do that. You know, it's like, when you're working in that corporate event world, you have to be invisible. If you could do the gig with no PA and no microphones, that's what everybody wants. As sound people, I know it's crazy. I know, I get it. Like, you fight for every inch that you possibly can with that kind of stuff. So it's like, what do? Yeah, you gotta do some unorthodox EQ curves. You have to, you know, really, really understand mics and placement and that kind of thing so that you can make sound and music happen in an ideal environment. And then if you have people on your team that are not necessarily malicious, but they're playing the show like they want to play the show, you as a sound engineer just have to, you know, all right, future Billy for editing, get ready with the bleep button. I try not to swear on these videos, but sometimes you have to eat and serve a shit sandwich. I don't know what else to say. Like, you just do, you know, so that's it. Sorry for yelling. The next gig at we literally loaded in during Tropical Storm Ophelia. So that was interesting. It was in a country club, and they had basically the dance floor with a tent butted up to the side of the building, which leaked on that stone wall the whole night. So that was another one. It's like we you know, the drummer would have been upstage center. You know, we had to move him as downstage as we possibly could, which just basically put him right up against the singers. So it's like, what do you do with that as a sound engineer? It's like, your vocal mic is an overhead, basically, an overhead with reverb and delay in it, you know? So what do? You got to make it work, which, you know, again, made the singers' ear mixes sound like crap. And that's another interesting thing about mixing that band, is you are front of house and monitors for that. Plus, you have to deal with video people's requests for audio, the speeches, you know, that kind of stuff. So during that gig, we had 2 new singers who were having a really difficult time being able to hear themselves in their mixes because they had drums. They had drums with them the entire time, you know, right up against them. And it's just like, the more that they needed to hear themselves, because, you know, as singers perform throughout the night, they get tired. So their output is not necessarily the same as it is at the beginning of the night. So oftentimes, I will run my gains really hot on the singer mics so that when they need more of themselves throughout the night, I can just give them more in their auxes, and that doesn't affect gain staging for everybody else down the line. The guitar player's pedal board blew up. So I had 2 singers that had problems that were not used to working with me, and I wasn't used to working with them, so they had a hard time articulating what they wanted. So I was kind of hopping up and standing next to them and putting my iPad next to them and showing them, hey, this is what your mix looks like. What if we cheat this up? What if we cheat this down? You know, was this helping you? You know, fixing the guitar player's pedal board, you know, it was the gigs were tricky this weekend. So, you know, and you have to do that all while mixing the show. So I was looking after 8 monitor mixes, mixing the show, having outputs for video, and being basically the guitar tech with the guitar player. So you have to do that stuff simultaneously, all while coordinating with the event planner and making sure that the band is taking a break and making announcements and all that kind of stuff. So it's, you know, mixing those gigs is a handful. It's not easy. You know, those corporate kind of gigs are not for the faint of heart, you know. And then the other thing is, you have to swallow your pride and be like, well, this is what I have to do to make this stick PA work in this country club and not be too loud, and, you know, have all of these monitor mixes and not occupy a lot of room and that kind of stuff. So anyway, thank you for watching. As always, I have now pulled into the grocery store and I'm going to feed myself and stock the fridge before I have to get on another 4 planes before next weekend's gig. So I will catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the comments, even the little poopy ones. So catch you on the next one. Bye.